Hey everyone! Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 2 of the Jammie Jamm vlogs. Now, as a reminder, I am currently vlogging about turning my home into a short-term rental and then hitting the road in the RV with my dog as a solo female RVist. And you, my friend, will be along for the entire journey. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Now, today's episode will be primarily focused on getting the house ready to become a short-term rental. It might not sound like a lot, but I have been working my behind off for the last couple of weeks to get this task accomplished. So I have painted several rooms. You can see some of my work on the screen now. And I'm planning to do some more painting. It's just part of what I want to offer as a homeowner on a short-term rental is I want fresh, designer style in my house. I want this to be a 5-star experience. So painting came with that. Now, you might be wondering in the process of getting ready why I may not have taken all these personal photos down. As you can see, there's a lot of personal photos there. The reason why I did not pull those photos down, I did pull a lot of personal photos down, but I kept some up. Here's why. I have been a guest at many Airbnbs over the years. The one Airbnb I stayed at that was somebody's house, this lady, she had pictures all over her walls, just wall to wall. It was almost overwhelming. There were so many pictures. But me as a guest staying there, I took better care of her house than I would have if it felt like it was a corporation/hotel type thing. For example, the last day that I was at that house, I did all the laundry. I washed the towels, I washed the bedding, everything. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't want to leave this lady's house a mess. I want to take care of her. This is her home. I'm going to take care of it because she was kind enough to let me stay in it. But when I stayed at Airbnbs, all the other ones that felt more corporate in style, not personal in any way, I left the dirty towels on the floor. I didn't bother washing any of the bedding. I just didn't have that personal investment in that location as I did at somebody's house. So I want to give people the experience. Like, this is somebody's home, and I want them to have that 5-star experience, get to know me a little bit as the homeowner, but also take great care of my home as well. So that was important to me in my decision to keep some of the personal items on the walls. Now, I did a lot of yard work also in preparing for the house to become a short-term rental. I moved 3 yards of topsoil. If you don't know how much that is, it's a giant pile of dirt. And I moved that all myself with a wheelbarrow. I have access to some of the best topsoil in Alabama, so I got to keep it coming because, as many of you know, I'm an avid gardener. So I like to keep lots of topsoil, like to keep the flowers fresh and beautiful for myself, but especially now that I have guests coming to stay, I want the yard to be beautiful for them as well. I also had a small fence built for Bama. You might be wondering who or what is Bama. Bama is a football team, or a school actually, but Bama is also about an 18-year-old African desert tortoise. You can see him on the screen now, pictures of Bama, and he will be behind a fence, secured and safe, but guests will still be able to see him through the fence as well in his habitat. So that's one way that my house, my Airbnb, will be set apart from the rest. Nobody else is going to have a desert tortoise to look at in the yard, except when he goes in hibernation in the wintertime. Now, I didn't build the fence myself. I had my handyman come over and help me with it, but I did paint and stain the fence myself. I pressure washed the back patio. I have an area on the back patio that's set up with lots of outdoor seating, including a propane fire pit for the winter months. So I had to make sure that was fresh and clean. I also pressure washed the front porch because, again, there's another seating area out there where guests can sit, have a cocktail in the evening while they watch the sunset. I moved all of my personal items into the primary closet and also into the garage. Now, yes, you might be wondering if you really saw a cast iron skillet in my closet. Yes, you did. Here's the reason being is, sorry, future guests, you cannot touch my cast iron skillet. I'm sorry, you can use anything else you want in the kitchen. Everything is available to you. You can even use my seasonings and my spices. I'll refill that, no problem. But you can't touch my cast iron skillet. So I put that away. That was one of the things that, because I don't want guests touching it, I put it away. Now, you might be wondering why it's in my closet and not the garage. Here's why. The closet is temperature controlled, and cast iron skillets tend to be susceptible to rust if not properly seasoned. So I keep it just out of safety concerns for the skillet itself in my closet. It's just one of those things. So those are the things you got to think through as you're putting all of your personal items away that you don't want guests to have access to. You know, when I put everything into my closet, it was quite overwhelming. I don't know if you've ever, had a child dump out all of their Legos on the floor and then you tell them to pick it up and it's such an enormous job, they don't know where to start. They just sit on the floor and cry. That's how it felt to put everything in my closet. But I got it figured out. It took some real finagling to get it organized and situated the way it makes sense for me. So just, it does take some time and organization to clear all of your personal items out. Think about dresser drawers. I emptied all the dresser drawers, had to put all that stuff in my closets, things like that. So, everything under the sinks, medicine cabinets, all of that goes into the closet if you don't want guests to have access to it. Now, I cleaned the house top to bottom. I pulled the furniture out, scrubbed the floors, the baseboards, shampooed the carpets, scrubbed the bathrooms, as you can see. Had a little fun doing it too. And then I also installed shampoo and body wash dispensers in all 3 of the bathrooms. So, so it's been quite a busy time. Now, one side note, as I'm preparing to become a short-term rental, I made sure before I even came to this conclusion that I was going to do this, I looked through my neighborhood's HOA covenants. I read it cover to cover. And in fact, a couple of times just to ensure I understood what I was reading before I made this financial decision. And nowhere in the covenant for the HOA is it prohibited that a house become a short-term rental. Even though I know that to be a fact, even though I know what the rules are, it came to my attention recently that there's someone in the neighborhood running around and causing, angst and, kind of trying to start trouble around the neighborhood with some of the neighbors and telling people that it's not allowed without actually knowing for sure or not. But that's okay. I ain't tripping about that because as soon as this person goes to report me to the HOA, they'll figure it out too. So, but I just wanted to share that with you because I promised that I would share all of my experiences. So if you are considering the idea of becoming a short-term rental, remember to consider the HOA covenant if you have an HOA in your neighborhood. Now for the listing itself, I have decided to use a company named Evolve. Evolve will list my house. They're listing it across multiple booking sites. I think 6 or 7, maybe as many as 8 different booking sites that they're listing my house on. including Airbnb, Booking.com, etc. Evolve will be managing my bookings. So if I, as the homeowner, were to go in and manually post all these different websites myself, which I could do, it would be cheaper. I wouldn't be paying Evolve to do it. The problem with that is it would be easy to get cross-booked because, for example, a client or a guest books something on Booking.com, somebody else books it on Airbnb for the same weekend. There's some possible cross-booking happening. So I like the idea of having Evolve manage that for me. The other thing is Evolve has algorithms. Now, I want to be able to earn as much money on a nightly basis as I possibly can while still staying very competitive so that my house stays booked. So as a homeowner, I don't really have that kind of information. I can guess, I can see what other people are charging and then make the rate that for that night. But what Evolve does is they adjust based on what the market is doing on a nightly basis. And it also can tell, how many other bookings for that are competitive to mine. And then they price mine as competitively as possible while still earning me the biggest amount in nightly revenue as possible. Now, Evolve charges fees, of course, like they're in business to make earnings and profit, right? So I think that Evolve's fees, though, are very reasonable for the services that they offer. For example, they sent a professional photographer to my house last Tuesday and took photos of my house. They have a professional writer and editors who will write the listing for my house. And then they will post it among all the booking sites. That should all be happening here within the next week or so. My house will be going live, and I'm very excited for that. I will be certainly sharing with you, how the bookings are going, and how my experiences with Evolve is going as well. However, if you, my friend, are looking at setting your house up as a short-term rental sooner rather than later, and would like to consider using Evolve to help you manage your short-term rental needs, I recommend reaching out to my friend Phil. Phil's contact information is on the screen now, and please reach out to Phil. Make sure that you tell him that Jammie Jamm sent you, and Phil will hook you up. My onboarding experience has been amazing so far, and I'll continue to share my experiences with all of you as well. But I will also have Phil's information linked to the YouTube video as well for easy access there as well. So again, reach out to my friend Phil at Evolve using the information now displayed on your screen, and tell him that Jammie Jamm sent you. Thank you so much. And as always, the marathon continues. Follow me.